My name is Naomi. And the day I moved into my new house, a stranger already knew what I was wearing. Before I go any further, please pause for just 1 second. If you enjoy real emotional stories, dark secrets, and true feeling nightmares, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Also, tell me in the comments what country you are watching from, so I know where you're listening from. Now listen carefully, because this really happened. I was standing in my bedroom, half dressed, when my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. The man on the other end did not say hello. He said, "You should close the curtain. The blue one. The neighbors can see you." My heart slammed into my chest. I whispered, "How do you know what I'm wearing?" He sighed, like I was the one being difficult. Then he said, "I forgot the hidden cameras when I sold you the house." My legs gave out. I sat on the bed, shaking. I said, "Hidden cameras?" "Yes," he replied calmly. "I meant to remove them." I remembered too late. I screamed, "That's illegal." He paused. Then he said the words that still haunt me. "But don't worry. I've already seen enough." I dropped the phone. That was the moment I realized the house was not empty. Let me take you back. I am a woman who spent most of her life being strong for others. When I finally saved enough money to buy my own house, I believed my nightmare was over. The house was perfect. Quiet street. Clean walls. Fresh paint. A place to heal. The former owner was quiet during the sale. He smiled, but his eyes never smiled back. I ignored the feeling in my stomach. I should not have. The first night, I slept peacefully. The second night, I felt watched. Lights turned on by themselves. Doors were not where I left them. At night, I heard soft clicks inside the walls. I told myself it was nothing. On the third day, the call came. The call that destroyed my peace. When I picked up the phone again, my hands were shaking. I asked, "Where are the cameras?" He answered softly, "Everywhere." My throat burned. I ran through the house, ripping open vents, checking smoke detectors, pulling out tiny black lenses. He was watching me sleep, watching me cry, watching me change. I screamed into the phone, "You're sick." He replied calmly, "I warned you." Then he said something worse. "There's one camera you haven't found." I froze. I whispered, "Where?" He smiled through his voice. "The one showing me your face right now." I turned slowly. My heart stopped. A tiny red light blinked behind the mirror. Then I heard it. A soft click. And a whisper through the phone. "Now. I can finally see your fear." I did not sleep that night. I sat on the edge of my bed with the lights on, my phone in my hand, and my back pressed against the wall. Every small sound made me jump. Every shadow felt alive. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I kept thinking about his voice. Calm. Slow. Certain. He was not guessing. He was watching. I wrapped a blanket around myself and whispered, "You're safe. He's gone. He sold the house." But the words felt like lies. When the sun finally came up, I felt a little stronger. Daylight always makes fear feel smaller. I walked through the house again, slowly this time. I checked every room. I pulled out every camera I could find. I placed them all on the kitchen table. There were so many. Tiny black dots. Small wires. Little blinking lights. I felt sick looking at them. How long? I whispered to myself. How long had he been watching people in this house? How long had he watched me? I grabbed my phone and called the police. My voice shook as I explained everything. The officer sounded serious. He told me to leave the house and wait somewhere safe. I packed a small bag and stepped outside. That was when my phone buzzed. A text message. From an unknown number. It said, "You missed one." My heart dropped. I looked around the street. Cars passed. Neighbors walked their dogs. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I typed back with shaking fingers. "Who is this?" The reply came fast. "You know who I am." I felt dizzy. I ran back inside. I searched again. I checked places I had already checked. I tore open pillows. I moved furniture. I pulled books off shelves. Nothing. I stood in the living room, breathing hard, feeling stupid and scared. Then I noticed something. The old wall clock. It was not ticking. I stepped closer. The second hand was frozen. I reached up and took it off the wall. Behind it was another camera, pointing straight at where I had been standing. I screamed. My phone rang immediately. I answered without thinking. He said, "You found it." I shouted, "Leave me alone." He laughed softly. "You don't understand," he said. "I already feel like I know you." I felt tears burn my eyes. "You're sick. I'm calling the police." "I know," he replied. "They're on their way." My heart skipped. "How do you know that?" Another pause. "Because I can see your phone screen." I froze. My hands felt numb. "You're lying," I whispered. "Look up," he said. I looked up. The smoke detector blinked. I screamed and threw my phone across the room. I ran outside again. This time, I did not look back. I got in my car and drove to a small cafe down the road. I sat by the window, watching the street, shaking so badly I could barely hold my cup. I told myself I was safe. He could not see me here. Or so I thought. My phone buzzed again. A new message. "You left the back door open." I stared at the screen. My chest felt tight. How did he know? I typed back. "Stop contacting me." The reply came slowly this time. "I'm not done yet." I felt tears fall onto the table. People sat around me, laughing, talking, living their normal lives. They had no idea what was happening to me. The police finally called. They told me to meet them at the house. I did not want to go back. But I had no choice. 2 officers walked through the rooms with me. I showed them the cameras on the table. I showed them where I found them. They looked serious. "This is bad," one of them said. "Can you catch him?" I asked. "We'll try," the other replied. "But we need proof he's still watching." I laughed bitterly. "He just texted me." I showed them my phone. Their faces changed. One officer said, "Stay with us." That was when my phone rang again. The officer answered it. He listened. His face went pale. He slowly handed the phone back to me. I whispered, "What did he say?" The officer swallowed. He said, "Check the basement." My heart stopped. "I don't have a basement," I said. The officer looked at me. "Yes," he said quietly. "You do." We stood at the basement door. I had never opened it before. It was hidden behind a shelf. The air felt cold. The officer reached for the handle. Before he opened it, my phone buzzed one last time. A message. "This is where I kept my favorites." The door creaked open. And the smell that came out made me cover my mouth. The smell hit us first. It was thick and heavy, like something old and rotten that had been trapped for a very long time. I covered my mouth and nose, but it did not help. My stomach turned, and my legs felt weak. One of the officers whispered, "Stay behind us." I nodded, even though my body did not want to move at all. The basement steps were narrow and steep. Each step creaked as the officer placed his foot down. The light above flickered, then went out. Darkness swallowed the stairs. The second officer turned on his flashlight. The beam moved slowly, like it was afraid of what it might find. I was afraid too. The basement was not like any basement I had ever seen. The walls were covered with old boards. Wires ran across the ceiling like spider webs. Small red lights blinked everywhere. Cameras. Dozens of them. Pointing in every direction. I gasped and whispered, "Oh my God." The officer said quietly. He turned this place into a control room. In the center of the basement was a long table. On it were screens. Some were off. Some were cracked. Some were still on. And on those screens, I saw myself. Sleeping. Crying. Changing clothes. Sitting alone on the couch. I felt dizzy. I grabbed the wall to keep from falling. "He's still watching," I whispered. The officer nodded. "Yes. And not just you." He pointed to another screen. A different woman. Another screen. A family. Another. A child's bedroom. I felt tears roll down my face. "How many?" I asked. The officer did not answer. Then I noticed the writing on the wall. It was scratched deep into the wood, like someone used a knife. Names. Dates. Times. Some names were crossed out. Some had the word "done" written next to them. I stepped closer. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears. At the bottom of the wall was my name, written in fresh, dark ink. Next to it was today's date. And one word. Next. I screamed. The officers moved fast after that. One of them grabbed his radio and called for backup. The other guided me back toward the stairs. But before we reached them, every screen turned black at the same time. The red lights stopped blinking. The basement went silent. Too silent. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I did not want to look. I did anyway. A message. "You found my room." My hands shook. Another message came right after. "I told you I wasn't done." The officer saw my face change. "What is it?" he asked. I handed him the phone. He read it. His jaw tightened. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from upstairs. The front door slammed shut. The lights in the basement went out completely. I screamed. The officer shouted, "Police! Identify yourself." No answer. Just footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming from the floor above us. My heart felt like it would burst. The officer pushed me behind him and raised his weapon. "Stay here," he whispered. Another bang. Something fell upstairs. Glass shattered. Then the footsteps stopped. My phone buzzed again. "Don't let them lie to you." I stared at the screen, confused and terrified. Another message. The house was never empty. Backup arrived minutes later, but it felt like hours. They searched the house. Every room. Every closet. Every corner. No one was there. No signs of forced entry. No broken windows. Nothing. It was like he had disappeared into the walls. That night, the police would not let me stay in the house. They took me to a safe place. A small room. White walls. A bed that felt too soft. I sat there, staring at my phone, afraid to turn it off. I thought maybe it was over. I was wrong. At 2:17 a.m., my phone lit up. A video. Sent from an unknown number. My hands trembled as I pressed play. The video showed my house. From inside. The living room. The kitchen. The hallway. Then the camera turned. And stopped. On the bedroom door. My bedroom door. The door slowly opened. The video ended. I screamed for help. The officers rushed in. I showed them the video. Their faces went pale. One of them whispered, "That's Liv." I shook my head. "No. I'm not there." The officer looked at me. "That's not what I meant." He pointed at the screen. "There's someone else in the room." I stared harder. The shadows moved. A shape stepped forward. tall, still, watching the camera, watching me. Then the screen went black. That was the moment I understood something terrible. He was no longer just watching from the house. He was following me. And he was getting closer. Because seconds later, my phone buzzed one more time. And the message said, "You shouldn't have left." I did not feel safe anywhere anymore. Not in the house. Not at the police station. Not even in my own body. After the video ended, the officers moved fast. Too fast. They took my phone. They asked questions I could barely answer. My head felt full of noise, like 100 voices talking at once. One officer said, "We're moving you." I asked, "Where?" He did not answer right away. "That depends," he finally said, "on how much he knows." Those words scared me more than anything else. They took me to a small hotel on the other side of town. Not a fancy place. Just clean. Quiet. Anonymous. 2 officers stayed outside my door. I sat on the bed and stared at my hands. They would not stop shaking. I kept thinking about the word he used. Favorites. What did that mean? Why was my name marked next? And how did he follow me so easily? That night, I did not sleep. Every sound made my heart jump. Footsteps in the hallway. An elevator bell. A door closing. I checked the locks again and again. At 3:06 a.m., my phone buzzed. The officer had given it back to me, but only after checking it. He said, "If he contacts you again, we need to see it." I stared at the screen. A new message. "Do you like your new room?" I felt my chest tighten. I typed back slowly. "Where are you?" The reply came almost immediately. "Closer than you think." I dropped the phone on the bed like it burned my skin. I ran to the door and knocked hard. One of the officers opened it. "He's texting me again," I whispered. The officer frowned and took my phone. His face changed when he read the message. "That's not possible," he said. "He shouldn't know where you are." I laughed softly. That's what I thought about the house too. The next morning, they moved me again. This time, to a friend's place. She lived alone, far from my neighborhood. I did not tell her everything. I just said someone was bothering me. She hugged me and said, "You're safe here." I wanted to believe her. The first day passed quietly. No messages. No calls. I almost felt normal again. I helped her cook. We watched TV. We laughed. For a moment, I forgot. That was my mistake. That night, as I lay on the couch trying to sleep, my phone buzzed. I did not want to look. But I did. A photo. Sent from an unknown number. It showed me. Lying on the couch. Taken from above. I screamed. My friend ran into the room. "What's wrong?" she asked. I showed her the phone. Her face went white. "That's right now," she whispered. I nodded. My whole body felt cold. I ran through the apartment, checking every corner. I found nothing. No cameras. No wires. Nothing. My friend said, "Maybe it's fake." I wanted it to be fake. But then my phone buzzed again. A message. "Check the smoke detector." I looked up. My heart sank. We did not touch it. We called the police. Again. When they arrived and opened the smoke detector, they found it. Another camera. Brand new. Still warm. One officer whispered, "He's been here." My friend started crying. I felt numb. They asked me something then. Something that changed everything. "Has he ever spoken to you in person?" I shook my head. "Never." The officer exchanged a look with his partner. "That might be the problem," he said. "What do you mean?" I asked. He hesitated. Then he said, "People like this, they don't stop until they're seen." That night, after they moved me again, I finally asked the question I was afraid of. Do you think he wants to hurt me? The officer did not answer right away. Then he said, I think he wants to be remembered. At 1:11 a.m., my phone buzzed again. I knew it was him. I did not open it. Another buzz. Then another. Finally, I looked. A voice message. I pressed play. His voice filled the room. Soft. Calm. Familiar. You keep running, he said. But I've already chosen you. I felt tears slide down my face. He continued. You were different from the others. You noticed me. My stomach turned. I don't want to hurt you, he said. I want to finish what I started. The message ended. Minutes later, another message appeared. Just 3 words. Come home. Naomi. I screamed. Because that was the first time he said my name. And I had never told him. Then the officer's phone rang. He listened. His face went pale. He looked at me and said, We found something. What? I asked. A storage unit, he replied. Rented under a fake name. My heart raced. What's inside? He swallowed. Videos, he said. And a schedule. I whispered. A schedule for what? He did not want to answer. But he did. For visits. I could not feel my legs. When the officer said the address out loud, my ears started ringing. It was like the world tilted, and everything around me moved too fast. That's where I am right now, I whispered. The room went silent. My friend looked at me, confused. What do you mean? The officer stood up straight and spoke firmly. Everyone stay calm. But there was no calm left inside me. He had planned this. Not guessed. Not followed. Planned. They moved fast. Too fast for my heart to keep up. One officer told my friend to pack a bag. Another spoke into his radio, giving orders I could barely understand. I stood there frozen, staring at the wall, replaying one sentence in my head. Come home. Naomi. Home. He still thought the house belonged to him. As they rushed us out of the apartment, my phone buzzed again. I did not want to look. I looked anyway. A message. You're late. I screamed. One officer took my phone. Turn it off, he said. I shook my head. No, I whispered. If I turn it off, he'll know. The officer hesitated. Then he nodded. You're right. That scared me even more. They took us to a police safe house. No signs. No name. Just a building with cameras, guards, and locked doors. For the first time in days, I felt a small sense of safety. Small. Fragile. I sat on a hard chair while officers went in and out of the room. They asked me questions again. Did he ever touch you? No. Did he ever speak to you face to face? No. Did he ever say why he chose you? He said I noticed him. The officer wrote that down. His pen paused. That matters, he said quietly. Hours passed. No messages. No calls. I started to breathe again. Maybe this time they had cut him off. Then a young officer walked in holding a tablet. We pulled the videos from the storage unit, he said. My heart dropped. I don't want to see them, I whispered. He nodded. You don't have to. But then he added. There's something you should know. I looked up. The first video of you, he said, was recorded before you bought the house. I felt sick. What do you mean? He swallowed. He followed you before you ever moved in. The room spun. So the house wasn't random, I said. No, he replied. You were. They showed me one still image. Just one. It was me. At a grocery store. Looking at fruit. Smiling. I had no idea anyone was watching. Tears streamed down my face. How long? I asked. Almost a year, the officer said. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. A year. He had watched me live my life. And I had never known. That night, I slept in a small room inside the safe house. No windows. One door. Two locks. An officer sat outside. I told myself I was finally safe. At 2:42 a.m., my phone buzzed. The officer outside rushed in. "Did you hear that?" he asked. I nodded slowly. I looked at my phone. A message. "They can't protect you forever." The officer cursed under his breath. "How is he still contacting you?" he asked. I whispered. "Because he wants me to answer." The next morning, something worse happened. The officer who had been guarding my door did not show up. Another officer came instead. "He called in sick," she said. Something about her voice felt wrong. I looked closer. Her badge was turned slightly. Her eyes avoided mine. My heart started pounding. Later that day, they brought me food. I did not eat. I kept thinking about the guard. About his words. "They can't protect you forever." Then I noticed something on the tray. A small folded note. My hands shook as I opened it. 3 words. Written in familiar handwriting. "I'm inside too." I screamed. The officer rushed in. "What happened?" I handed her the note. Her face drained of color. She grabbed her radio. "We have a breach," she shouted. The alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed. Doors slammed shut. People ran. I sat there, frozen, unable to breathe. My phone buzzed. One last message. "Now you see me." Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Slow. Calm. Coming closer. And then, they stopped. Right outside my door. The handle began to turn. The door did not open. Not right away. The handle stopped turning, like the person on the other side wanted me to know they were there. And wanted me to wait. My whole body shook. I could hear my own breathing, loud and broken. I pressed my back against the wall, my eyes locked on the door like it might explode at any second. "Police!" a voice shouted somewhere down the hall. Footsteps ran past. Someone yelled orders. Then everything went quiet again. Too quiet. A soft knock came from the door. Not loud. Not angry. Gentle. Like a friend checking on you. My stomach twisted. A man's voice spoke, calm and close. "Naomi," he said softly. "You don't have to be afraid." I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming. "I told you," he continued. "I didn't want to hurt you." Tears streamed down my face. "How did you get in here?" I whispered, even though I knew he could hear me. He laughed lightly. "The same way I always do," he said. "By being ignored." Suddenly, the door swung open. I screamed. But the person standing there was not the monster I had imagined. It was a police officer. Young. Clean. Calm. The same officer who had brought me food earlier. The same officer whose badge had been turned the wrong way. He raised his hands slowly. "Easy," he said. "You're safe." I shook my head violently. "No," I cried. "You're lying." He sighed, like a disappointed teacher. "I was hoping you'd understand by now." My heart felt like it cracked in half. "You," I whispered. "You're him." He stepped inside and gently closed the door behind him. "I'm not the only one," he said. "But I'm the one who stayed." He sat down in the chair across from me. Like this was a normal conversation. Like he had not destroyed my life. "I watched you for a long time," he said. "Long before the house." I screamed. "Why me?" He looked at me carefully. "Because you looked back," he said. I stared at him, confused. "At the grocery store," he continued. "Most people don't notice anything. But you did. You paused. You frowned. You looked straight at the camera." My blood ran cold. "That was you." I whispered. He nodded. That was when I knew. He leaned forward. You don't disappear in a crowd, he said. You feel things deeply. You notice details. You feel alone even when people are around. I cried harder. You don't know me, I said. He smiled sadly. I know you better than anyone. Sirens wailed outside. Shouts echoed in the building. He glanced at the door. They're getting closer, he said calmly. My chest tightened. What do you want from me? I asked. He stood up slowly. I want you to choose, he replied. Choose what? Whether I disappear, he said, or whether you finally listen. My phone buzzed in my hand. I looked down. A message. From him. From the man standing in front of me. This is your last chance. I looked up at him. What happens if I scream? I asked. He tilted his head. Then they rush in, he said. And they never understand the full story. And if I don't? I whispered. He smiled. Then I tell you the truth. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small. A flash drive. I kept everything, he said. Every video. Every message. Every face. I stared at it. Why show me this? Because, he said softly, you deserve to know how special you were to me. I felt sick. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The building shook slightly. Someone shouted, "Power's going out." The officer's smile widened. Perfect timing, he said. The lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. I screamed. I heard him move closer. I felt his breath near my ear. I told you, he whispered. They can't protect you forever. Then something unexpected happened. A loud crash. The door burst open. Flashlights flooded the room. Get down, someone shouted. Hands grabbed me, pulled me away. I screamed and cried as officers dragged me out. I looked back. He was gone. The room was empty. No officer. No chair. No flash drive. Just silence. They searched the building for hours. They found nothing. No sign of him. No sign he had ever been there. They told me he escaped during the blackout. They told me I was safe now. They were wrong. That night, in a new secure location, I sat alone. My phone buzzed. One final message. You chose wrong. Attached was a photo. A live photo. Of me. Sitting exactly where I was. Taken seconds ago. I stopped screaming. Not because I was calm, but because my body had no strength left. When I saw the photo, me sitting in that same chair, taken seconds ago, something inside me broke. Fear turned into something colder. Heavier. Like I was sinking underwater and could no longer fight it. He was still watching. Always watching. They moved me again. Another place. Another locked room. Another promise of safety. Different walls. Same fear. This time, they took my phone. No more contact, an officer said firmly. We're cutting him off completely. I wanted to believe that. But deep down, I knew something they didn't. The phone was never the problem. The next morning, a woman came to see me. She introduced herself as a therapist. Calm voice. Kind eyes. I'm here to help you process what you've been through, she said. I nodded, even though my head felt empty. She asked gentle questions. How are you feeling? Do you feel safe right now? Do you remember everything clearly? I answered slowly. But when she asked one question, my stomach twisted. Did he ever make you feel special? I looked up sharply. What did you say? She blinked. I mean, did he make you feel chosen? My heart began to race. That's exactly what he said, I whispered. She smiled softly. That's common with stalkers. But something felt wrong. Too rehearsed. Too familiar. After she left, I sat alone. No phone. No clock. No window. Just me and my thoughts. That was when I noticed it. A small red dot. On the ceiling. Barely blinking. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak. I whispered. No, 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 no. I screamed for help. Guards rushed in. They looked up. One of them frowned. That's not a camera, he said. That's a sensor. A sensor for what? I cried. He didn't answer. Later that day, the same therapist returned. She sat closer this time. I heard you were upset, she said gently. I stared at her. Why did you ask me that question? I asked. Which one? About feeling special. She paused. Just for a second. Then she smiled. Because that's how control works. My heart dropped. Her voice sounded different now. Lower. Calmer. Too calm. That night, I dreamed. I dreamed I was back in the house. Walking through the hallway. Every door open. Every room full of screens. And on every screen, me. Older. Younger. Crying. Smiling. Living different versions of my life. I woke up screaming. The next morning, something terrifying happened. They brought me breakfast. On the tray was a folded napkin. I unfolded it. 2 words. Still watching. I dropped it and backed away. Guards rushed in again. They searched everything. Found nothing. One of them whispered to another. This doesn't make sense. I wanted to laugh. Nothing had made sense for a long time. That afternoon, the therapist came back again. This time, she closed the door behind her. You're making this harder than it needs to be, she said softly. My blood ran cold. What? I whispered. You keep resisting, she continued. But you already know how this ends. I stood up. Get away from me. She sighed. You really don't see it yet, do you? She reached into her bag. Pulled out a tablet. She turned the screen toward me. On it was a live feed of the room I was standing in. From above. From the corner. From behind me. I screamed. She smiled. We're everywhere, she said. I ran for the door. It wouldn't open. She didn't chase me. She didn't need to. You were never supposed to escape, she said calmly. You were supposed to understand. I slid down the wall, crying. Why are you doing this? I begged. She crouched in front of me. Because people only feel real, she whispered, when they're seen. Suddenly, alarms blared. Loud. Sharp. Angry. The door burst open. Guards rushed in. She stood up slowly, raising her hands. What's going on? One guard shouted. The woman looked confused. Why are you yelling? She asked. I'm just doing my job. They took her away. She didn't fight. She didn't look back. She smiled at me as she left. Later, an officer came to sit with me. She's been cleared, he said carefully. Cleared of what? I asked. Of everything, he replied. She's not connected. I laughed. A broken, empty laugh. You're wrong, I whispered. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, at the red dot. It blinked once, then twice. Then my mind finally understood the truth. This was never about one man, or one house, or one set of cameras. This was a system, a network. And I wasn't the first. I was just the one who noticed. Then, without warning, the lights went out. The room filled with darkness. A familiar voice whispered from somewhere close. You're ready now. I froze. Because that voice was not his. The darkness did not feel empty. It felt crowded. When the lights went out, I held my breath, listening. I could hear the soft hum of machines somewhere behind the walls. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and uneven. I could hear someone else breathing. Close. Too close. The voice came again, calm and familiar. You don't need to be afraid anymore. My throat went dry. I knew that voice. I whispered, Officer Daniels? The silence stretched. Then a small light flickered on near the door. He stepped forward. The same officer who had comforted me. The one who told me I was safe. The one who said he would protect me. He looked tired. Sad, even. Like this hurt him too. I didn't want you to find out like this, he said quietly. My legs gave out, and I sank onto the bed. You. I whispered. You were helping me. He nodded slowly. I was, he said. In my own way. I shook my head over and over. No. No. You saved me. You pulled me out of that room. And I meant to, he replied. You weren't supposed to be there yet. The word yet made my stomach twist. He pulled a chair closer and sat down, keeping his distance. We started small, he said. Cameras. Observation. Patterns. I screamed. You ruined my life. He flinched. I know, he said softly. But you also survived. That's why you're here. Here where? I cried. He looked around the room. You're in the evaluation phase. My hands trembled. Evaluation for what? For the next step, he replied. He explained it slowly, like he was talking to a child. There were others like him. Some wore uniforms. Some wore smiles. Some wore kindness. They watched people who were invisible to the world. Lonely people. Quiet people. People who notice things. They don't break, he said. They adapt. I felt sick. You were testing me, I whispered. Yes, he admitted. To see how much fear you could carry without collapsing. Tears streamed down my face. And if I failed? I asked. He looked away. Then you would have disappeared. I covered my ears and screamed. He stood up quickly. Stop, he said. I don't like this part either. Then let me go. I begged. He shook his head. It's too late. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He placed it on the table. A remote. This is the last choice you get, he said. My heart raced. What choice? You can stay a subject, he said, or you can become one of us. I laughed through my tears. You're insane. He didn't argue. You survived everything we threw at you, he continued. Most don't. That makes you valuable. I whispered. You want me to hurt people? No, he replied. We want you to watch. The walls around us lit up. Screens appeared. Dozens of them. Each one showed a different room. Different people. Living their lives. Unaware. I felt dizzy. You see, he said. You already know how it feels to notice. I shook my head. I won't do it. He sighed. I hoped you'd say that. He pressed the remote. One screen zoomed in. A woman sat alone at a kitchen table, crying. I gasped. That's not fair, I whispered. She's like you, he said gently. Before. I screamed. Stop. He turned the screens off. The room went dark again. He moved toward the door. I'll give you time, he said. But understand this. He paused and looked back at me. You were never meant to escape. You were meant to replace someone. The door opened. Before he stepped out, he said one last thing. They're watching how you respond. The door closed. The lock clicked. I curled into myself and cried until my chest hurt. Hours passed. Or minutes. I don't know. Time felt broken. Then the screens came back on by themselves. One by one. All showing the same thing. Me. From different angles. Older footage. Recent footage. Live footage. And then a message appeared across every screen. Welcome to the inside. That was when I understood the final truth. This place wasn't a prison. It was a classroom. And I was no longer the student. I was the lesson. Then one last screen turned on. It showed a familiar house. My house. Someone was standing in the living room, looking straight into the camera. They smiled and waved. I did not move. Not because I was frozen with fear, but because I finally understood the trap. They were not waiting for me to scream. They were not waiting for me to run. They were waiting for me to choose. The screens stayed on. All of them. Every angle of my life played back at once. Moments I remembered, moments I didn't, moments I never knew were recorded. I saw myself laughing on a day I thought no one noticed me. I saw myself crying in the dark, believing I was alone. I saw myself standing in that house for the first time, smiling, hopeful. They had been there for all of it. Watching, learning, studying. A calm female voice filled the room. Not loud, not threatening. Measured. You're doing well, the voice said. I whispered. Who are you? A pause. I'm your observer, she replied. For now. For now. I asked. Yes, she said. Roles change. My chest tightened. I won't do this, I said. I won't watch people suffer. The voice sounded almost amused. Neither did you, she said. At first. The screens changed again. This time, they showed her. The woman from the screen earlier. The one crying at the kitchen table. She wiped her eyes and stood up. She walked to the sink. And froze. Slowly, she turned her head. Looked directly into the camera. Into me. My breath caught. She whispered something. I couldn't hear it. The screen zoomed in. Her lips moved again. The audio clicked on. Is someone there? She asked softly. I screamed. Turn it off. The screen went black. The room returned to silence. The door opened. Officer Daniels stepped inside again. He looked different now. Less gentle. More certain. You reacted, he said. That's important. I glared at him. You're sick. He nodded once. Yes, he said. But I'm honest. He sat across from me again. They're testing empathy, he explained. Not obedience. I don't care, I snapped. I won't be part of this. He leaned forward. You already are. He slid a tablet across the table. Watch, he said. I didn't want to. But my eyes betrayed me. The screen showed another room. Another person. A man this time. Middle-aged. Tired. He sat on a bed, staring at the floor. He's been observed for 6 months, Daniels said. He hasn't noticed yet. What happens when he does? I asked quietly. Daniels hesitated. Some break, he said. Some disappear. And some. I pressed. And some, he said, become useful. I pushed the tablet away. You think this makes you powerful, I said. But you're hiding. Daniels smiled faintly. So were you, he said. Before you noticed. The lights dimmed. A new screen appeared. Large. Centered. It showed the safe house hallway. Empty. Then a door opened. My door. Someone stepped inside. My heart stopped. It was my friend. The one who had let me stay with her. She looked confused. Scared. She whispered my name. I screamed. What did you do to her? Daniels stood up. Nothing, he said. Yet. She's here because of you, he continued. Because you ran. Because you were observed. I shook my head violently. No. Let her go. That depends, he replied calmly. On what? On whether you understand your role. The screen zoomed in on my friend's face. She sat on the edge of a bed. just like I once did. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. Read a message. Her face drained of color. I knew that look. I had worn it. Daniels turned to me. You can stop this cycle, he said. Or you can let it continue without you. How? I whispered. You step forward, he replied. You help us choose better candidates. My stomach turned. You want me to become you? No, he said softly. We want you to become worse. I stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. If I do nothing, I said, what happens to her? Daniels didn't answer. He didn't need to. The screen answered for him. My friend looked up suddenly. Eyes wide. She whispered, hello. The lights in her room flickered. I felt something inside me change. Not fear. Not panic. Something sharper. Something colder. I looked straight at Daniels. You think you're in control, I said. But you made one mistake. He raised an eyebrow. What's that? You taught me how you watch. For the first time, his smile faded. The screens flickered. Just for a second. Then again. Daniels turned sharply. What did you do? He demanded. I didn't answer. Because at that moment, a message appeared on the largest screen. Not from them. From somewhere else. 3 words. We see you too. Daniels went still. The room filled with alarms. Not theirs. Different ones. Louder. Angrier. The screens began to shut down one by one. Daniels grabbed his radio. This isn't possible, he muttered. I stepped back. My heart pounding. Looks like you're not the only ones watching, I said. The lights went out. Completely. In the darkness, I heard running footsteps. Shouting. Doors slamming. Then silence. My phone, returned to me without explanation, buzzed in my hand. One final message appeared on the screen. From an unknown sender. Choose carefully. They're coming for you next. I did not feel relief when the alarms stopped. I felt watched in a new way. The kind of watching that does not rush you. Because it knows you cannot escape. The room was dark. Silent. The screens were gone. The voices were gone. Even Officer Daniels was gone. But I knew one thing with terrible certainty. Someone else had stepped into the room. Not physically, but everywhere else. The message on my phone stayed there, glowing softly. Choose carefully. They're coming for you next. I whispered. Who are you? No answer. I waited. Minutes passed. Then another message appeared. You survived them. That makes you interesting. My chest tightened. So this is another test, I said aloud. The phone buzzed again. Everything is a test. The door unlocked. Slowly. I stood up, my legs weak but steady enough to carry me forward. The hallway outside was empty. No guards. No cameras. No alarms. Just clean white walls and silence. I walked. Each step felt like I was walking deeper into something I could not name. At the end of the hallway was a room I had not seen before. The door was open. Inside was a single chair. And a screen. I already knew what would be on it. The screen turned on. It showed my friend. She was sitting in a room just like mine. Alone. Confused. Afraid. Alive. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. She's okay, I whispered. For now. A line of text appeared beneath her image. Your turn to decide. A calm voice spoke. Not male. Not female. Neutral. Controlled. You've seen what happens when power is hidden, the voice said. You've lived what happens when observation becomes obsession. I said nothing. You can expose them, the voice continued. Burn everything down. Release every file. Every face. Every secret. My heart raced. And what happens then? I asked. Chaos, the voice replied. Innocent people harmed. Systems collapsing. Truth without protection. I swallowed. Or, the voice said, you can replace them. I laughed bitterly. So I become the monster. No, the voice corrected. You become the filter. The screen split into two. On one side, files, names, locations, evidence that could destroy the network forever. On the other, live feeds, access, control, the ability to intervene. I understood the cruelty of the choice. Destroy everything, and let people suffer in the fallout. Or stay, and decide who gets watched, who gets warned, who gets saved. I whispered. You planned this. Yes, the voice said. But you still choose. I looked at my friend again. She rubbed her arms, cold and scared. Waiting. I closed my eyes. I thought about the house, the cameras, the fear. The moment I noticed something was wrong, I thought about how no one believed me at first. And I understood the truth they never said out loud. The world already runs on watchers. The question is who watches back. I opened my eyes. I'll do it, I said quietly. The screen paused. Clarify, the voice requested. I won't destroy everything, I said. And I won't become what they were. Silence. I'll stay, I continued. But on my terms. The voice waited. I choose who gets watched, I said. I choose when to intervene. And the first thing I do. I looked at my friend. Is let her go. The screen showing her went black. Then another message appeared. Request accepted. The room changed. New screens appeared. New controls. New access. I felt sick. And powerful. And terrified of myself. The voice spoke one last time. Welcome, it said, to the other side of the camera. Weeks passed. The world went on. No headlines. No explosions. No sudden justice. Just quiet changes. People getting warnings. Victims disappearing before they were hurt. Predators losing access without knowing why. And me. Watching. Choosing. Living with the weight of every decision. Sometimes, late at night, I see my own face on a screen. Not live. Recorded. From a camera I didn't place. That's how I know the truth. No one ever fully escapes the system. You just move higher inside it. And now, before I end this story, I need to say something to you. Yes, you listening right now. If this story made you uncomfortable, if it made you look around your room, if it made you wonder who might be watching, that's because stories like this don't come from nowhere. So before you go, subscribe for more emotional, powerful stories like this video so more people can hear it. And turn on notifications, because the next story might feel even closer to home. Also, tell me in the comments what country you're watching from. Because sometimes, the watchers read the comments too. And you never know who noticed you first.